All right, day two has just ended of the group stage for Worlds 2018. Well, I guess they didn't just end because I fell asleep and had to rewatch the VODs, but just finished all the VODs, decided to do another breakdown. These games were, well, there were some uninteresting ones. There were some very one sided games, and just generally the games weren't incredibly exciting. There were a lot of problems in draft or just in team communication or just in completely getting fucking wrecked. But let's look at the standings right now. So you have Royal, which won their game, of course. So they're 2-0. You have Flash Wolves, which are 2-0. These teams, not very surprising to see them 2-0 currently, although it is kind of surprising to see a Freak of Freaks at the bottom of the standings. Everyone was thinking, okay, they're going to be up there with Flash Wolves. Other than that, that's how that group's going to pan out. Now for Group B, you have Royal Never Give Up, and then Gen G as well too. Those are two opposing, polar opposites. And then I didn't have room for the other bracket, which Fnatic is of course going to be up there as well with their win today. So let's go ahead and break down the games. So Flash Wolves versus Afrika. This game, it's strange from just the outset of the draft. I don't ever want to say that draft is the reason why a team lost, because of course there's an argument of barrier of execution versus just draft itself, right? Because, well, if you have a high barrier of execution with your draft, meaning that you need a very high skilled team or individual players in order to play the draft, then maybe you should have drafted something else. And that also goes on to the idea that you as a coach should know the abilities of your particular players in order to then build a team composition which suits their level of skill. So that's the main problems in which I have of draft, and coaches kind of avoiding their inherent burden of how they should have draft play out. And of course that is stifled through champion pools of their particular players, but that's just something that you have to work around. And either you force them to play in solo queue these particular picks which you want them to be proficient at, or you just don't really have much control over your team, do you? Anyways, so this draft, a Freak Freaks last pick, Akali. I don't really understand this too much because it's going against Urgot in the top lane, because they decided to flex they decided to get Gragas and flex it either to jungle or to bot lane for support. And that's fine, but when you have the Akali as last pick because you think this is an OP champion, which it is inherently, but you're going against an Urgot. So just because Akali's available doesn't mean you need to pick it. So Afrika ends up picking this Akali, and I just don't agree with it 100%. So Afrika, they didn't take advantage of their draft by not accelerating bot side, because that's their only advantage throughout this entire team composition is you have to accelerate bot side, get that as an advantage with your Xayah, and then kind of rotate her around the map and try and take towers before the Flash Wolves scale up, because you're on a timer as a Freak of Freaks. So you don't have the luxury of not making plays, which Afrika didn't make plays. They were incredibly passive in the early game, and they just got outscaled by Flash Wolves. Kai'Sa got the triple kill 4v5 near Baron, and that's when it was pretty much over, although the game was just over before then due to Afrika's passiveness. So I blame this a lot on draft. But of course the Olaf didn't get anything snowballing at all. So that was kind of Spirit's fault a little bit. But yeah, other than that, I really disliked the draft. So, Fongbu Buffalo versus G2 Esports. This one was pretty interesting. So, Fongbu, they get Urgot early into the Aatrox matchup. Wonder has shown multiple times that he's not afraid to do either side of this matchup. He prefers the Urgot, obviously, because it's more OP, but he doesn't care if the enemy gets Urgot. So he showed this in the play-in stage. He's shown it now here in the group stage. And it also is kind of strange how G2 have chosen the Rakan instead of the Xayah for, the first picks. Maybe they think that PvB can't really play Kai'Sa, so they decide to save Kai'Sa as their third and last pick for the first rotation. So Fongbu get Xayah, which has been a huge priority for a lot of teams that want early aggression within the bot lane. Other than that, nothing too crazy about this draft. Fongbu obviously banned Heimerdinger because they saw what happened before in G2's first game. And then you also see the counter pick of Leona into Rakan because, as I talked about previously, is Leona, her ability to stop Rakan's engages is pretty damn good. So throughout this entire game, what happened basically was that Jankos let a lot of pressure go through his misplays through the jungle, and then that allowed Fongbu to take over the game. And it seemed throughout this game like G2 would go in one by one. So G2 seemed to have some miscommunication throughout this entire game, and that's basically their entire downfall. Particularly one of the fights at 1945 where Fongbu, they opt into a 4v5 as Null, the Vel'Koz, isn't even near his team. I think he's over at their blue buff, and yet they're over here at bot side tier 2 over on G2 side. So Fongbu, they chase Wonder, and then Jankos backs him up, and yet they don't see the portion next to blue buff to where the rest of Fongbu is coming in. And so G2, they try and counter chase during this initial play, but then Fongbu shows up, particularly Leona, I believe it was, and just completely wreck G2, just straight up. So it seemed like G2 were in a desperation mode towards the latter parts of the game, and you could see their just rampant miscommunication as it broke down throughout the entire game. And I think that's the main cause of why G2 lost, especially with getting vision control into the jungle, and Jankos just kind of misplaying and being over aggressive. He tried to clear like that mid ward in the river bush in the bottom side of mid, and just gets completely destroyed by Null with like 2 spell rotations. He has enough time to do 2 spell rotations, and yet Jankos just doesn't back off, and he doesn't even have flash. So really strange from Jankos. He just got caught out multiple times, and I don't. It seemed like he was just playing solo queue or his own game. I don't really know what's going down, but yeah, I think this was kind of a one-off game from G2. They obviously could have performed better, so we'll see how the rest of the group stage pans out for them. Oh man, I love NA. I love it. So we knew this was gonna happen. Well, we didn't know it was gonna happen this bad, but we knew Fnatic was gonna wreck them. Basically, I'm just gonna gloss over the draft because the draft doesn't even really matter in this game. It was just complete getting shit on. Other than Fnatic, they get Aurelia, which I guess Caps, it's banned against him constantly within EULCS. So 100 Thieves probably just didn't do their homework. So bad job on the analysts. And then you see Syndra getting picked up, which is the counter to Rakan, because we saw that NA game where Rakan got stuffed over and over. I think it was Afromu on Rakan, and he just kept getting stuffed over and over, which is ironic that they pick Syndra as their last pick now. Probably nightmares from that other game, but it doesn't matter. Cap smashes mid. He gets 4 solo kills the entire game. Not all on Ryu, but he does get a solo kill on Ryu early. And this just opens up the game for Fnatic to get control in the enemy jungle. Even though they had decent pressure onto anyways. So Fnatic just went through Caps. Apparently don't give Caps Aurelia. And you learned your lesson. And then also, Fnatic, I believe they only had 1 death, so Soaz is a fucking feeder. Other than that, go ahead and swap out Soaz for Bwipo next game. That's all I really have for advice for Fnatic. This game was entertaining because you got to see how hard Caps can stomp. So that was kind of cool. Rip NA. And for just as an aside, for those that are saying that, 100 Thieves are weaker than any of the other teams that would be able to make the second seed, which, okay, yeah, I would say they are weaker than Cloud9. I think that's very true. But to say that TSM would do quite well, or to say that, oh, my light went out. Or to say that Echo Fox would do better than 100 Thieves, I'm not so sure about that. I don't necessarily believe in that, because 100 Thieves got here for a reason as well too throughout the entire season. So yeah, sure, you can say that TSM with their long-standing veterans and everything know how to practice, know how to scrim, but to just fall back on that and just say that NA would be in a better position because 100 Thieves sucks, like, come on, you're just making up excuses now. So NA fans, just take it, just take the loss. We got stomped, and just move on and don't give Caps Aurelia. So Invictus Gaming versus G-Rex. This one was actually pretty entertaining because you saw the good ganks from the Zac. I thought the Zac pick did a ton of work this game. Ning was just super good on the pick. Early game went well for G-Rex with the play bot, as like Jackie Love lost 2 waves at 645. And then IG, they get a good dive bot early, and then Ning played the game fantastically with getting all the angles and stuff with Zac. And IG didn't even have great vision control this entire game, but they played against the aggression of G-Rex pushing for vision control and trying to get vision control, and that's when Zac punished them multiple different times. And then of course there's the during 24-20, IG they wait for the bush near Baron, and then Ning engages onto Candy, and he just sees him through the sweeper lens and catches him out. And then IG end up getting 4-0 and Baron, and that's pretty much when the game is over. So that was super sick just to see Ning's prediction skills after the sweeper was done. So yeah, I thought that was dope. Not particularly incredibly skillful, but it was sick to see regardless. So the wild one, holy shit. So I rewatched this game, and okay, so let's go over the draft phase first. you have Jizuke getting LeBlanc in the second rotation, which is cool. And you have Vitality prioritizing Zaya over Kaisa. Even though Sneaky has been proven to be rock solid on Kaisa anyways, they just allow it to go through. And then you have Svenskeren on Talia, which he looked really good on previously anyways. So it's weird that Vitality allow Cloud9 to get all these different picks that they're comfortable on. And then they go with Thresh, which is then countered by Nautilus. And I'm not sure how much practice Zeyzal has on Nautilus. It doesn't seem like a lot because throughout this game, he just kept getting blown up repeatedly as he would try and hook someone in and then just get shut down. And sometimes he wouldn't even get his ult off. So it seemed like he thought he was tankier than he was throughout the entire game. And then, of course, you have the Jarvan later on in the draft phase, which is quite a strange pick, I would say. I'm not sure how it does into like this Talia matchup of Talia having a pretty fast clear time too, especially with her wall rider and everything to go throughout the jungle at a faster move speed. But to get into the game, Sven, he had a lot of good ganks early on, but Kikis also responded in kind by getting bot snowballed, which is what their win condition was in the beginning anyways with drafting a Zaya over Kaisa, because once again, you're kind of on this loose timer. Zaya's not a bad AD carry in the late game, but she isn't a Kaisa, right? So then a gank happens at 7:15 where Kikis lane ganks and kills Sneaky. Now this is a crucial point in the game because Cloud9, or Sneaky in particular, loses a double wave bot, so it puts Sneaky behind a ton in terms of CS. So Sneaky's already behind during this point. And then at 11:30, Cloud9 put a ton of resources to gank bot lane with Licorice TPing down to bot and then Sven lane ganking as well too. But they only ended up getting one kill. They tried to get both of them, but they weren't able to do it, which allows for Vitality to get Rift Herald and bot tier 1 after Cloud9 recall. So this entire play was botched by Cloud9, put them behind even more than they were in terms of the bot lane. So they have to recoup and they have to just play this game out slow. And later on, what happens is like Jizuke is just a problem throughout this entire game, as he's able to blow up anyone in the side lane. So you can't have your Kaisa even pushing on a side lane to get more CS. And during team fights, he would also blow up people as well too. So you just have this massive problem with LeBlanc. And then, of course, at the end, you see that Cloud9 are able to exchange the Elder Drake for Baron. And this enables Cloud9 to kind of hold on because they already had 2 Drakes, I believe, before they got this Elder Drake and traded. So they're able to hold on to their base because of this, because Vitality don't want to engage on them because they're just so strong at that point. And then you see at 43 minutes is when Jizuke goes on to Svenskeren as he's separated from the team, and he almost bursts him out, but Jensen's Galio then ults onto him, and they catch out Jizuke because all of Cloud9 turn on him and then kill him. And then Vitality engage and almost kill multiple members, but then Cloud9 runs towards Elder Drake to get it as it's respawning. So now they have the double Elder Drake, like the super Elder Drake. And so they push onto and kill Attila at like 44:15, which is super sick, and it allows Cloud9 to be able to be the aggressors within this game. And so they're pushing through topside onto the Nexus, and this particular portion of the game, when Cloud9 are about to end it, is, I want to say it's a misplay from Kikis, because at 47 minutes Kikis gets this nice knock up onto Sneaky, but then he ults Jensen, and like Sneaky's almost dead. So if he were to have ulted Sneaky, he would have killed him. So Sneaky barely survives in the back portion, and the rest of Cloud9 are fighting and zoning off. And Sneaky's able to go back in there and do additional damage later. Not that much, but he's able to do additional damage with his W from the back line. And then he goes up to the Nexus and helps kill the Nexus. But you have to think, if Kikis would have played that mechanically correct and gotten the ult onto Sneaky, then it's a possibility that he would have been able to kill him and then at least stop the game from ending. I'm not too sure though. That's just kind of me nitpicking. But overall, this game was the aggressiveness that everyone wanted to see from Vitality. So that was still refreshing to see a team like this that is from a major region that is so entirely aggressive. Jizuke is a gangster on LeBlanc, but Vitality just weren't able to close out. And they, of course, botched that Baron fight where Jensen was able to defend that Baron, and Vitality probably could have actually closed out this game a lot faster if they had gotten that Baron. So props to Jensen for being able to defend that, and this was an incredibly close game. So it's very, very exciting. For the last game, it wasn't really that entertaining for me, because first you get the Xayah from Genji, and then you get Rakan and Sion afterwards. So they wanted to split up Lovers Duo, of course. And previously, it was during the Vitality game. Yeah, let's go back. I forgot to talk about that. Vitality could have gotten Rakan here. So I don't I don't get why you don't go Rakan here. You're perfectly able to do it. It's not like Kai'Sa or Talia are a counter to Rakan. So the only thing that I can think of why not to go Rakan is that they were scared of Jensen's Syndra. So Jensen could have possibly gotten Syndra on the second rotation, and that would have meant that Vitality would have had to ban Syndra, which then would have left open the Poppy, I guess, or the Lissandra that everyone is so scared of from Licorice top lane. So in that sense, it makes sense, but still, I would rather just go with the Rakan anyways, because you know that they're gonna pick Nautilus, which admittedly Zeyzal wasn't very good on anyways, but it's strange that both teams didn't pick up Rakan. I just find that completely bizarre. But anyways, going back to Genji versus RNG. So I don't have any problems with the entire draft phase. Of course, red side bans both Aatrox and the Urgot, and then you have the Tahm Kench ban as well too, which is high priority. Other than that, ban phase not too crazy. You have Uzi on Sivir, which I guess he thinks it's a counter to Xayah, and if you think about it, in some ways it would be, because you have the wave clear in order to match the aggression of Xayah herself, so she can't constantly push you in. So this seems like a soft counter to Xayah. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's just fucking Uzi playing it. So we might see this more. We might not. I'm interested to see how the meta develops in answering the Xayah pick, because a lot of teams seem to have problems against it. But to get into game specifics, Genji, they try to win the game by having Cuvée split push during mid game, but Haru doesn't really give them the tools to scale early on. So instead, they fall back to Cuvée as he gets kills in the mid game during team fights. And it just seems like Haru didn't go towards his advantage of trying to snowball the top lane for the split push. Instead, he focused bot side and bot side vision. And that's fine, I guess, as long as you get a significant advantage bot lane, which they didn't because of the Sivir pick, which was able to push back into the Xayah. So with RNG's level of initiation, Genji crumble during the late game and get engaged upon while Cuvée is split pushing, which allows RNG to win the entire game. So the good things in which RNG did was just having great vision setup and for objective controls, and then largely controlling vision bot side and contesting vision bot side against Haru. So this made it to where RNG's bot lane was safe pushing, and if Haru's going to try and force bot side aggression, then he's just going to give up his advantage top side of being able to try and snowball this Camille pick. And with Karsa doing the gank early on to where he ganks Cuvée, I think at 7 minutes, and it looks like Cuvée would die, but he's able to get like a good flash and a hook shot to escape. So this could have snowballed the lead further for RNG, but even still, Let Me had a significant CS advantage early on and was able to actually get a top tier 1 by himself. So Haru's neglection of topside is, I think, why Genji had such a problem during this entire game. And if you were to try and snowball Cuvée instead, you probably would have been able to accomplish a bit more instead of trying to do this stalemate bot lane. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with all the games. RNG versus Genji, it was kind of cool to watch, but to see the botch from Genji and in terms of knowing their win conditions, I think that was the fault of them. Vitality versus Cloud9, that one was just fun to watch. I didn't really care which team won, but it was incredibly fun to watch. Besides Zazel's Nautilus, that shit was straight garbage. And then the IG versus G-Rex game, super sick watching Zach play. That pick was super cool. Maybe we'll see that more throughout the group stage as kind of this niche pick for Ning to be able to get some crazy angles and just change the pace of the game and the dynamics of the game. Zach is one of those picks which entirely warp the game state into something that is not very familiar. 100 Thieves versus Fnatic, wasn't very interesting on paper, but it was cool to see Cap Smash. And then you have G2 versus Fongvu. That one wasn't interesting. I thought basically G2 just looked like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, with not very great communication. Yanko's just going around inting constantly. And then Flash Wolves versus Afrika. The draft was where I Love Uv basically ended up inting, so he's going to get another report. Maybe he gets fined again. Maybe he gets banned this time. I don't know. But those are my thoughts on all the games, and I will see you guys for day 3. Peace out.